Hello there, TBU fans, and welcome to the first instalment of the Union News for the Battle Union Season 2. My name is Shroomraver. I'm very happy to be back doing these for another season. Last time, of course, I used to do these with Shoddy, but he's taking a bit of a backseat, only going to be doing the power rankings with me this season. So, in his place, and arguably far better than he will ever be at this, we have my new co-host, and that is, of course, Chaos in the Sky.
Hello everyone. Glad to be here. Please hold the applause. Now that Shoddy is gone, I am the one who's come to save you from him.
Yes, indeed, we have someone far better than Shoddy was ever cut out to be. But this, as I've said, is the Union News. Now, for those of you who are new to the to the league,
what is that a pun?
Well, it could be. It could be. We are not averse to puns.
I was not prepared for these puns.
Get your pun game on because we're going on a wild ride.
It's time.
Yes. So what this is basically Chaos and I will be taking sort of a briefer look at the battles that have happened over the past week. The more in-depth views, of course, in the power rankings, which goes up on Thursday. But we'll be taking a brief look at the main talking points of the battles that have happened, how that has affected the standings going into week 2. We'll also be taking a little look at the MVP race. And finally, we'll sort of have a little bit of time at the end, a nice little thing we like to do, take a look at the bench trades, and then have a bit of smack talk to see exactly what our coaches are saying about each other, which is always very, very exciting to see exactly who's saying what. So, without further ado, we're going to kick off with the first battle, which is going to be Slate Vale, the newly named team of Squirtacular, taking on Trip and the Dallas Staravias. This was a game that ended in a 3-0 victory for Slateport Vale. A nice start to the season for Josh. And to look at some of the sort of vague team building things we had, very nice decision to run double banded core on Trip's side, which was very nice. We had Snorlax was a big monster that really went in turn 1 to get a nice big kill on Mega Absol. Apparently Snorlax does not care if his choice band is knocked off first turn, he will still get a KO. Which was a nice start for Trip, but it didn't entirely go his way, because this was basically the battle of Trip versus Paralysis. I did try and keep count of the amount of times Trip got fully paralysed, but I lost count. I lost count very quickly, because I think there were like 5 or 6 paras on his Arcanine. There were a couple of others on various other mons that he had. Celebi got parried a few times as well. And even when Trip thought he had a chance to set up with Dragonite, Dragonite went for the Dragon Dance, got tri-attacked, and instantly got paralysed again. So he lost a lot of momentum through that. Didn't help that he also got Scald Burnt turn 1 on his Scarfed Breloom. So basically what ended up happening was Trip very much got haxed out a huge amount this game. Still managed to kind of try and play around it as best he could. He was making very good plays, kind of scout out his opponent's Aromatisse. He did that very well. It would have been really easy for him to kind of like fire off hits in anger, but he scouted out the Aromatisse looking for the Babiri Berry Hidden Power Fire combination, which of course Aromatisse was rocking. But it was always an uphill struggle for Trip in this match. Too much hacks. It was just something that he, or anyone in his position, was just unable to deal with. And yeah, it basically ended in the 3-0 loss and a nice first victory for Josh and Slateport Vale.
It was so painful. I felt like someone punched me every single time the screen said fully parried.
Yep.
It was absolutely... And he even had a chance to come back with the Dragonite, but then tri-attack, of all things, paralyzed him. Oh, it was... I feel so sorry for Trip. Like, that needs to go in a manual. Like, this is the nightmares that you will have. This is the myths that they tell you about of what could go wrong in the league format.
Yeah, everything that could go wrong for him really did. It was a very unfortunate start, but you know, it just showed that he wasn't playing badly at all. You know, he was playing very much to the best of his ability. It was just unfortunate circumstances.
I'm pretty sure on top of the parries he even got crit once, and it was like a crit that mattered. I'm pretty sure his Arcanine died to it.
Yes, that's true.
It was just the game itself was. I'm pretty sure that Josh is the creator of Pokemon, and that's the only way that could have occurred.
It's possible. It's very possible that that's what happened.
All right, we gonna move on to the next one?
Yeah, we'll move on to the second one.
Next, we have I always pronounce this wrong, and Richie always gets mad at me. The Live, is it Live or Live? Live Wurmple FC?
That's
Live
correct.
Wurmple FC versus the Whiskers, which is Richie 15,000 versus, I don't know Enzo's YouTube name, I'm just going to say Enzo, versus Enzo. This was a pretty close match. It came down to a 1-0, and it could have gone either way, but it ended up going Enzo's way. Richie brought Trick Room, which was very, very impressive on his part, because he did not have a ton of really slow half of his team was slow, half of his team was fast. He had Rose Raid, Victini, and Zapdos, and then Bronzong, Druddigan, and Scizor, Mega Scizor, and he made the Trick Room work very, very well in his favor. But unfortunately, when it got near the end of the match, Richie, I believe, switched out because he thought that the Diggersby would outspeed him, but he did not realize that the Diggersby was scarfed. The Diggersby had scarfed itself into Fire Punch to kill a Scizor, I believe, and Enzo switched out into his Talonflame so that he would be able to come back in and Earthquake the Victini, and Richie did not realize it was scarfed and was afraid that it would outspeed and Earthquake him, so he switched, and as a result, his Bronzong went down to his Talonflame's Flare Blitz. It was like 2-on-2, I believe, and if Richie had gone for V-Crate, he would have killed the Talonflame coming in, and then if the Diggersby had come in and scarfed itself into EQ, then Bronzong could have come in with Levitate and won the match. But it was just very unfortunate at the very end. It really goes to show one play can change the entire match, because if Richie had pressed V-Crate, he would have won, but he switched, and that cost him the game. But it was still a very good match. Gudra from the Whiskers gave Richie a lot of trouble, being one of the few Mons that can somewhat deal with a Victini. And Richie definitely threw Enzo through a loop, I feel, with Trick Room, because looking at his team, it's obvious that it can work, but it's not the first thing you think of. It was a bit of a surprise to me, and I'm sure it probably surprised Enzo a bit to see Trick Room coming through like that. But overall, it was a very good match. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Richie built a very good Trick Room team, and he got very good early use out of it. Certainly surprising Enzo with it. I liked it. I thought that he had very much all the parts you need to make a very solid Trick Room team. He had 2 Trick Room setters, one of which was offensive, one of which was not. He had rocks on his side. He had physical and special slow offense, one with offensive setup and one with a kind of more passive setup, a good amount of priority. The only issue I had with it, he didn't have any fast contingency. I think that's very important on a Trick Room team. You really need to have something dedicated to be very quick, just in case it all goes wrong. And he was running no speed, I don't think, on anything. He had some faster Mons that could work in Trick Room with negative speed, which is what he was doing. But it was just unfortunate he didn't have any fast coverage.
He didn't have a fallback plan.
Yeah, he didn't have a fallback plan, which didn't really come into play too much. It was very much the turning point was that double that you mentioned at the end. But it did surprise Enzo. I liked a lot of his sets as well. Counter Gudra, my man with the counter Gudra. It didn't really come into play, but it was nice to see that in the team building. Richie, he made some good early plays, but I wasn't sure about him sacking Zapdos when he did. When it might have been able to use Trick Room to get one last defog off, just to get rid of the rocks on his side. But other than that, I thought that both coaches played a really, really solid game. Excellent early stuff by Richie. Enzo came back into it very well, and that double at the end, Richie just slightly overthinking things to cost him the game, but a very solid performance on both sides. Yes,
it was definitely a very good match.
So moving on from that, we're going to move to the third game, which saw Quill and the Dungannon Typhlosions. I really hope I'm saying that right. Dungannon. Quill, let me know if I'm butchering that.
It's Ganondorf Typhlosions. That's what it is.
We'll go with that. The Ganondorf Typhlosions. Taking on Super Gassy and his already very successful in another league, New York Shelmets. Now, this ended in a 2-0 victory for Gassy and the Shelmets. And this was really one of the very early, really highly anticipated games. 2 of the best drafts that we've seen in the league. We saw Gassy bringing some really nice sets. A Megazard X with both Swords Dance and Dragon Dance, seeing that the Typhlosions could go either stall or offense, so he basically prepared his Megazard X very well for either of them. He said he was going to be running Swords Dance in case of stall, and Dragon Dance in case he came up against offense, and he had that very nice standard.jpg Pharaoh /Alamamola core going on as well. as well as a really nice Hydreigon set, which didn't quite come into play. Running Work Up with Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, and Superpower, which kind of destroyed Quill's horrific core, not all of which was brought. What Quill did bring, and got a lot of good use out of, was his Mega Venusaur. Really good early plays, gets damage on the Ferrothorn with Hidden Power Fire, Synthesis to tank a Draco from Gassie's Hydreigon, and then another Hidden Power Fire on the predicted switch back into Ferrothorn. Followed up by quite a risky game switching Infernape in on a Hydreigon, but it did work out for him, so it looked like Quill was really in Gassie's head early on in the game, but Super Gassie being who he is, he was able to get himself back into it, even after the Choice Band switcheroo worked out for Quill. Getting that band onto Alamomola, it still worked, put in a decent shift despite being Choice Banded. And whilst Quill seemed really comfortable using Mega Venusaur, once it went down, he looked like he kind of suffered from it, because suddenly there are no switch-ins to a choice-banded Azumarill. And that really kind of cost him. Azumarill didn't have any switch-ins, it was free to kind of run riot and put in a nice amount of work. Gassie saving his Zardex very well until the end game. It could have been very tempting to go into it on, for example, the Skarmory, but he chose not to, chose to save it till the end, managed to get a couple of KOs with it, and he played a bit of a risky end game, trying to get the final KOs with his Azumarill. A quick crit Aqua Jet, try saying that 5 times really quickly, from the Crawdaunt could have been problematic for him, but in the end he managed to take the 2-0 win, cleaning up right at the end, as I say, with his Azumarill.
This was a really good match. I feel like Gassie definitely did have trouble at the start, but once the Venusaur went down, Gassie he took the momentum of the Venusaur going down and just took it all the way to the victory, pretty much. He played incredibly well in the second half of the battle, and I forgot his name already. The Typhlosions played very well at the start, but like you said, it was kind of like, there's always usually at least, there's one point in the battle where something happens that just, usually it will turn it one way or the other. Yeah. And I think the Venusaur dying was kind of the pivotal moment in this match that kind of set it towards the end.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a very good match. I did not think anyone would be defeating the Dunnigan Typhlosions once I saw Venusaur, Cresselia, Skarmory. I almost threw up when I saw that team. But anyways, it was a very, very good match. I was very pleased to see the Mega Charizard set and the Hydreigon set, even if they didn't work out as perfectly as planned. But they were very amazing sets to see. And the fact that he got his Alamomola choice banded and still made it work was just wonderful. And I'm always glad to see Azumarill. It's one of my favorite Mons. But it was a very good match. I very much enjoyed watching it.
It was.
All right, so next we're going to move on to Eric and the Bristol Beedoofs versus the Scandinavian Stoutlands, who I believe is Skyrandar, isn't it?
That's correct.
All right, so I never thought I'd be able to talk about a match where a league match where a Mega Diancie got 4 kills by the end of it. This was a very close battle. I also did not think that would happen against a team with a Mega Latias, because Mega Latias is amazingly good. But Sky played incredibly well with the Mega Diancie, I feel. There were some times where Eric did not play as optimally against it, mainly with the very first turn. He knew it was going for Protect. He said it was going to go for Protect. We all knew it was going to go for Protect, and it did, but he still just went for the Flash Cannon. And it was how did the Landorus T, taking out the Landorus T so early like he did was absolutely amazing. That was so good. And it was like turn 2 or 3, he took out the Lando T, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is how is Sky going to recover from this? But he did, and probably one of the best parts of the match was the Empoleon switched into Melodic, and the Melodic did not get a Scald burn. He went for Scald, Eric went for Scald again and got the burn, and then the Empoleon revealed Swords Dance.
Yeah.
And I actually had to pause the video and just sit there for a second like, this is how Pokemon works, and I'm just going to continue watching the video. It was an absolutely amazing. The Conkeldurr got knocked off pretty early on, I believe, and that really crippled it. The main problem for Eric, I believe, was whenever the Diancie got in, he did not really have a good switch-in for it. He didn't have a solid switch-in for it since it had gotten its Mega off and was, with its great speed stat and attack stats, like the one thing that makes Mega Diancie amazing. Moonblast was just tearing stuff apart, and Earth Power took care of Heatran when it came in. Diamond Storm had kept Eric from switching in his Melodic just randomly, and it turned out later on that once his Sharpedo got sacked against the Diancie, he realized that it did not, in fact, have it because it had Rock Polish instead, and that allowed him to bring in the Melodic and take it out. And eventually was able to get him his 1-0 victory. I believe it ended with just Melodic against Diancie because the Diancie didn't have, it had Rock Polish instead of Diamond Storm. Melodic was able to live and get the kill. It was a very, very close match, and it was very good. I very much enjoyed this one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an interesting team brought by Sky. He had 5 setup mons, 3 of which had Swords Dance. This is the kind of play that you can expect to see from Sky. Really incredibly offense-based. Lots of setup, lots of power, lots of very scary things. Eric got a bit unfortunate at times. Missing a Fire Blast on Shaman was unfortunate, but not entirely game-changing. Very unfortunate with his Mega Latias, which was sitting at +2/+2 from Calm Mind, looking ready to try and get the sweep, and then the crit from Mega Diancie's Moonblast was really, really unfortunate for Eric. But he'd built a very nice team, the Heatran set in particular, as we say, leaving it in on the Lando, knowing he could take an Earthquake with that Sugarberry, and just going for the Hidden Power Ice to take out that Landorus Therian. Sky was playing quite riskily, leaving a defensive Shaman in on an Assault Vest Tangrowth was, I wasn't sure about it, but he was able to get some nice chip damage, leaving Drapion in on Conkeldurr, who 2-hit KOs, and leaving a Swords Dance Empoleon in on a Scalding Milotic. I'm not entirely sure about that, because he was going to struggle to hit it anyway, and, it's Scald. It will get the burn eventually. You can
One day,
eventually Scald will burn. As we know, 30% chance to burn does in fact mean 83% chance to burn.
83.5 if it's a bad day.
Yeah, that is true. If you get the RNG rolls, it really can do that. But Eric, he knows how to use a Milotic. He knows how to save it. Always nice to see a Mirror Coat KO, which he got against Alakazam, and able to save it for the end. I liked the good play from Sky towards the end, knowing the Protect on Shop Eater was coming, so going for that Rock Polish to give himself the best chance. But unfortunately, as has been said, not packing the Diamond Storm, so Milotic was able to go on and take the win for the Bidoof, giving them a 1-0 victory. So
At least now we know that Mega Latias is definitely not a broken mon in this format, because all you have to do is crit it and everything's okay.
Yeah, all you have to do is crit and you will be fine against Mega Latias. So everyone else, take note, that is how you beat Mega Latias.
In your face, shoddy. All you have to do is be good at the game.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. So with that, we're going to move on to the final game. Now, you may notice this is the 5th game, not the 6th. One of the games, or Somerset Sizzles versus LA Galuxray, that's Sizz versus Gabe, that's unfortunately had to be postponed until the Christmas break. Both of these coaches have had issues with scheduling in the past, and unfortunately that has come back to bite them. They've had to prioritise other things, which is fine. These are exceptional circumstances, obviously not going to be a regular thing. It's going to be postponed as opposed to just being called a non-entity, because we want to get as many games as possible going. So it's just been postponed until the Christmas break. So we're still looking forward to that one. And with that, we'll, as we say, move on to the final game to talk about, which is, of course, Frito and the Welshions taking on Sinister Sableye, our very own Baby Eye, and his St. Louis Chatots. Now, this did result in a pretty big 5-0 victory for the Welshions. Frito played really well with his very solid team. It had everything you need: initiative, hazards, rapid spin against a team that didn't have any ghosts, wish support for his bulky mons with no recovery, and, the likes of Entei, which doesn't want to be taking too much rocks damage with its repeated switch-ins. And, Baby Eye did bring some really nice stuff. I quite liked the idea of Magic Coat Slowbro. It was a nice idea. Unfortunately, he didn't quite have his prediction hat on, and made a few over-predictions with the Slowbro.
He mixed up the second and the third turn of using Magic Coat. It was great.
Yes, he did. He did slightly. And then his Slowbro ended up getting paralysed. I wasn't entirely sure about that play from Frito. Paralysing a Slowbro, it's not the status you want on a Slowbro. Ideally, you want Toxic, burn at the very least. If you can get a freeze, obviously that's nice as well. So I wasn't sure about his paralysing of the Slowbro, but he was able to play a very solid game after that. Came up against a very well-played Yan Mega from Baby Eye. I liked that he wasn't tempted to stay in to try and abuse Speed Boost. It's very tempting to do that. Once you've got set up and you're looking good with an offensive mon, it's very tempting to stay in and kind of risk things. But, you know, he had the presence of mind to be switching out. Don't abuse the speed boost when you're going to be taken out. So he's able to try and save it for later. On Frito's side, we saw Overcoat Fortress. That was a nice idea. It means that he was able to freely set up hazards and didn't have to waste an item slot on those ever-present safety goggles. And then through the game, we saw Baby Eye making some ballsy plays that on another day they could have worked out. You know, he stayed in with Slowbro on Heliolisk to tank predicted Hyper Voice, but got parried, which was unfortunate. I actually thought that was a bad play on Frito's part. I don't think he had any real reason not to Volt Switch. I didn't think it was a prediction he had to make, because he either takes out the Slowbro with Volt Switch, or he gets that ever-important initiative. But, other than that, you know, Frito just played a very good game. He prepped incredibly well. It's a tough loss for Baby Eye. He lost his spinner a bit too early, for my liking, which meant that Yanmega was crippled, and, you know, stack damage plus Heliolisk allowed Entei to come in late game and kind of just sweep up. It's going to be a tough loss for Baby Eye, but his attitude towards it has been very good. You know, he was talking in his video, you know, this isn't going to put him back, he's going to get right back on that horse, which is a very healthy attitude to take. It'd be quite easy to lose faith after a heavy loss first game, but he's ready to get back on that horse, as we say, and try and get himself back into this league, which of course he has plenty of time for, and certainly I think has a decent enough team to try and do a lot of work with.
Definitely. It was this was the heftiest loss of the week one, assuming that Sizz or Gabe doesn't get 6-0'd. But it's definitely not impossible to come back from a 5-0. The best of us get hit with a 5 or a 6-0 every now and then, and I'm sure that if he plays well and preps well for his future matches, he can make us forget all about this, or he can continue to just fail and we'll laugh at him, whichever comes first.
Indeed, but I have faith that he's going to be able to get back into it. As we say, this is very early days. It's only week one. We've got plenty of time for him to sort of pull out some victories and get himself back into the running. Prove
himself.
Yes, absolutely. So
also, Frito, you didn't get the 6-0. Get good, man. Why did the Noivern go down?
Honestly, Frito, it's. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
I'm seriously, man. That could have been a 6, dude. I thought for sure. Don't worry, Frito's gonna get the 6-0. I'll get to ignore Shoddy. I won't have to say get good, but no.
Yep.
Prove me wrong. So get
Come
good,
on, Frito. Get your head in the game. So with that, we'll take a really quick look at the standings as they are. First up in the Kanto division, we've got Slate, Port, Vale, and Josh sitting, of course, up top of the Kanto division, followed up by Super Gassie's New York Shelmets and Enzo and his Whiskers. Following them in the bottom half of the table, we've got Live Wurmple FC and Richie, the Dungannon Typhlosions and Quill, followed up at the end by Trip and his Dallas Staravias.
And then over in the Johto division, we have the Welshians in first, followed closely by the Bidoofs, the Bristol Bidoofs. Then we have the Gluxray in third, with the Orsemet Scissors in fourth because they have not battled yet. And then we've got the Scandinavian Stoutlands in fifth, and then due to the 5-0, we have the Chaytots in very last.
Yep, absolutely. So after that really quick look there, let's see what the MVP race is looking like at the moment. We'll take you through the top 10 in ascending order from 10 to 1. So in at 10th, we have Conkelda of the Bristol Bidoofs sitting at 2 and 1 after the first week. Tied in 9th with Mega Charizard X, also at 2 and 1. And thirdly, in 2 and 1, at 8th, just based on alphabetical order, we have Aromatisse of Slateport Vale. It is worth mentioning there are 5 other Mons currently sitting on 2 and 1 after week 1, those being Crawdaunt, Goodra, Porygon Z or Z, Mega Sizzle, and Talonflame. But back up to the top 10, in at 7th, we've got Frito's Welshion, try that one again, Frito's Welshion's team member Heliolisk, sitting at 2 and 0, joint with 6th placed Diggersby. I think that's 6th, is it? Oh no, hang on, I've missed out.
No, you skipped Latias and went to Heliolisk.
I've skipped Latias. I'm very sorry to Josh and Slateport Vale. Latias is sitting at 2 and 0 as well. And Heliolisk is in at 6th with 2 and 0 for the Welshions.
The alphabet is so confusing, man.
It really is. Really is. So who's sitting in the top 5, Chaos?
The top 5 we have, I believe, tied with 6th and 7th, if I'm not mistaken, also with 2-0. 5th is Diggersby, and then 4th is good old Azumarill, both of them sitting at 2-0. Then in 3rd place, tied with 2nd place, we have in 3rd is Melodic, and in 2nd is Entei, both of them with 3 kills and no deaths. And then what I have been so happy to get to inform you of is that we have Mega Diancie with 4 kills and 1 death sitting at the very top of the MVP race in week 1. So once again, Shoddy has been proven wrong, and Mega Diancie is obviously good in the format because it killed 4 things.
I mean, Shoddy's not the only one to be proven wrong. When Sky selected Mega Diancie, a lot of eyebrows were raised because, as we've mentioned before, Diancie and Mega Diancie often seen as kind of not great in the format, but it seems that Sky is really ready to get the best out of Mega Diancie, especially if he can continue this kind of form with it. It's going to be looking really good in the MVP race. Currently, as we say, sitting at top. 4 KOs in its first game, that's got to give him a nice confidence boost.
Yes, I agree. I think that he can definitely take Mega Diancie far. It definitely seems like a bad mon until you realize, hey, how do I switch into this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very powerful.
Yes, it definitely dies easy, but switching into it is that's the trick to Mega Diancie.
Yes, absolutely. It goes down easily, but it makes other things go down easily too, especially if used correctly, as indeed Sky did this week. So,
very well done.
With that, we'll take a quick look at the bench trades that have been made in advance of week 2. Now, there are 7 to look at. First up, we see Super Gassy. He's moved Cofagrigus to the bench to make room for Klefki, which is kind of interesting. We've got a general bulk in exchange for slightly less but more annoying general bulk. We'll see if he's going to be using those spike stacking abilities that Klefki has. Second up, Josh, Squirtacular. He's moved Porygon Z to the bench in place of Chandelure, which is interesting. Porygon Z picking up 2 KOs in its first game, but has been moved to the bench. We'll presume that Josh has his reasons for that. Third, we have Sky. He's moved Kyurem to the bench. He's picked up the powerhouse that is Heracross. And fourth, Richie making a bit of a water-for-water exchange. He's dropped Tentacle down to the bench to make room for Suicune.
Must need to switch into a Raikou.
Well, yeah, I mean, evidently he does want that Raikou switch in, which, as we know, Suicune is the prime counter to fast electric types. We all know.
I'm pretty sure it's the only thing that can switch into Raikou, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that is what the statistics are saying at the moment. It's very big in the meta as that Suicune as the Raikou counter. So fifth up, Eric. He's going to be moving Sharpedo to the bench to make room for the wall-breaking price of Honchkrow. Trip is also getting on the action, switching up Florges to make room for the far more offensively based Azelf. And finally, we are seeing Baby Eye moving Weezing to the bench to make room for the threat that is Exploud. Some really interesting ones. What would you make of some of them, Chaos?
He moved Weezing for Exploud, are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, okay then. Well, I'm excited to see what that does.
I mean,
I don't ever remember seeing Exploud in League format. I'm actually really excited to hear that. I want to see what he can do with that. I hope he uses it soon.
I really want to see him use it because Exploud was used. It was used in the GBA D League Season 2. McCarty used Exploud incredibly effectively. It was actually, I believe, it ended up in the top 10 in the MVP race for the D League. So he was certainly able to get the most out of it with those powerful Specs Boom Bursts. We'll have to see if Baby Eye can get the same kind of success as McCarty did.
I hope so. I want to see it do well. Also, with kind of curious as to why Richie is moving Tentacruel for Suicune, because I'm pretty sure he is lacking in a spinner now. He has Defogger still, but his only option of removal now is Defog. So kind of, I assume that he's seen something like, I don't need Tentacruel for spinning, I need to have Suicune to deal with something, assuming, and I'm kind of interested to see what it is. I personally like to have, if I had to choose between the two, I like to have both, but I usually try and have Rapid Spin over Defog, because, you know, you have to deal with ghost types, but it's also very nice to be able to remove hazards from your side, but keep your rocks or spikes or whatever up on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be very interesting to see exactly what he's planning to do with that. And I guess one thing we forgot to mention that we will be very briefly going over, just take a very, very brief look at the week 2 fixtures that we forgot to say we'll be taking a quick look at. So I've got them up here right about now. Week 2 is going to see Slateport Vale and Josh taking on Richie's Live Wurmple FC. Second match will be the Dallas Stravias and Trip going up against Gassy's New York Shelmets. Then we have the Dungannon Typhlosions and Quill taking on Enzo's Whiskers. Fourth should be the Somerset Sizzles and Sizz Awesome versus the Welshians and Frito. That's a match I'm really looking forward to seeing. Sizz versus Frito. That's going to be good. I can imagine a lot of smack talk before that game. So that should be fun. 5th, we'll see Skyrandar's Scandinavian Stoutlands versus Gabe's LA Gluxray. And finally, to round off the Week 2 fixtures, we will have the Bristol Beefs and Eric versus the St. Louis Chatots and Baby Eye.
So, a lot of good matches coming up.
Yeah, some really, really entertaining ones. I say I'm really looking forward to Sizz versus Frito. Two really big personalities in the league. Gonna be having a really, really entertaining game. Massively looking forward to that.
Shoddy versus Get Good. It's gonna be great.
Really is, yeah, very much so. Lots of vested interest in that match. So, speaking of the slightly previously mentioned Smack Talk, it's time to move on to the final section of this video, which is of course the Smack Talk section. Always nice to see what our coaches are saying about each other. It was always nice to hear Shardy's opinions on these, being as he is a professional Smack Talker, but Chaos is no stranger to Smack Talk himself, so I'm really interested to hear your opinions on these 3 examples that we have.
Oh.
First up, we have Trip. He was really expressing his excitement for the Week 2 match, saying that he can't wait, and Super Gassy just saying, I think you can't wait to just lose again. Which is interesting. Gassy and Trip, that's going to be a fantastic match. Of course, they are playing against each other Week 2. What do we think of that exchange?
I think all Gassy has to do is bring T-Wave, and then he's right.
Oh, there it is. We've seen that Trip is getting more than his fair share of bad luck with T-Wave. We'll have to see if Super Gassy is going to expound on that and try and use it against him again.
I want Gassy to just bring moves. Every single move has a chance to paralyze, and then by like turn 10, Trip just surrenders.
Surrender to the overwhelming power of power hacks. We'll have to see.
Just body slam, dragon breath, slam. It's just like Trips. I'm done. I can't do this.
All of these things bring.
Starts having flashbacks.
Oh, it'll be entertaining to see if that happens. So that's that one. Second up, a standalone statement from our very own Sizz Awesome, saying, you guys need to remember one thing. When you get destroyed, it'll be my name you're cursing. So Sizz really, really confident that he's going to get some wins this season. Do we agree with him on that?
Is that what he meant? I thought that he just meant when everyone loses, they blame him because everything is his fault.
Ah, interesting. I wonder if that's what he meant. I assumed that he thought he was going to be too good for everyone.
No, I'm pretty sure that every time I lost in PPL D2, I just yelled out, "Curse you, Sizz Awesome!"
I see.
That's how it goes.
That might be Sizz.
I don't think that's really smack talk. I think we just misunderstood.
Quite possibly. So, Sizz, if you're watching this, and I hope you are, you better be. Let us know what you meant by that. Do you mean that you think you're going to beat everyone, or are you just taking the blame in advance of people losing their games? What did you mean by that, Sizz? Tell us your secrets. Tell us.
He was behind the T-Waves. I knew it.
Sizz, you devious person! How dare you?
Wasn't even his match. I can't believe. Okay, well, we're gonna have some serious talks with management about Scissorsome later.
We
now
really
that
will.
We've discovered this.
We really will. And the final, and possibly the most cutting example of some smack talk here. Frito in the chat was really excited. For the first time in a long time, someone agreed with a point he made. I don't remember quite what point it was, but he was just really happy that someone had agreed with him. Baby Eye coming in with, I imagine that's a rare thing for you. Frito with his cutting response, as rare as you getting KOs. Oof. That hurt me to read.
Oh, I need a minute. I did not see that in the chat. I remembered the other ones you said. I don't remember that one.
That one cut deep, and it hurt me to read that. But as we said, Baby Eye had a very good attitude towards his loss, and he's ready to get right back into the swing of things and get himself some wins. So we'll have to see if Frito's assumption that him getting KOs would be rare. We'll have to see if that's actually true, and maybe in the coming weeks we'll see Frito eating his words. But only time will tell.
I'd watch that video.
Yes, absolutely. So with that's going to bring an end to this first installment of the Union news for the Battle Union Season 2. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. This video should be going up on Tuesday, so hopefully it'll be Tuesday when you're watching this. Stick around on the Battle Union channel. For all the other analytical videos, we've got videos coming in from the Don Fanatic. He'll be doing his regular series, as well as Thursday's Power Rankings, which you can join myself and Shardy for. That'll be up, as I say, on the Thursday. But that's going to do it from us. Chaos, any final words to add before we sign off?
Yes, I have a few things just to make sure that everyone remembers. We must never forget, first of all, hashtag ban Shoddy. We can't forget that one.
Yes.
Frito, please, for the love of Arceus, get good so that everyone will stop telling me to tell you to get good. Gotta make sure that one's in there. Richie is the best ever, despite his loss. Just, no one ever forget that. Watch the end of his video. You'll know why. And then also, Eric is a really cool guy. That's all I have.
There it is. Nice final words from Chaos. But yeah, as I say, we're going to get out of here. So thank you all once again for joining us today. And yeah, we will see you in another video. So take care, TBU fans. Goodbye.
Farewell.